Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Shauna. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. Today, we are phasing through, the series that we started. I proposed a challenge to atheists, to learn about God or to learn something that makes sense to them in regards to God or religion. And I also asked people who subscribe to one religion to learn about another, even if they feel as though they know all there is to know about a religion that is not their own, to still try to learn something else, right? So I have been doing a little digging, and I'm sorry for the background noise. If you can hear, I'm out and about. I'm not inside tonight, so excuse me for any noise. I started doing some research. I was looking earlier. So one of the things that I found to be really interesting is that Islam is the only religion that uses the Quran. Every other religion either uses the Bible or they have their own sacred holy text, right? So, and with Islam being the baby of the religions, it's the youngest religion. I don't find it that odd, but I just think it's interesting that no other religion studies the Quran, right? Now, there's a lot of misconceptions, and as we phase through this segment and this series, I'm probably going to repeat some things again, just, for the sake of conversation. But also because I know people probably won't listen to every episode, right? So just to kind of stay filled in some. Now, for starters, one thing that I found odd was that a lot of religions that are separate. Okay, let's take this back. Let's go to the beginning. Excuse me. I started with this very simple question, how many religions are there, right? And it's over 4,000. But these 4,000 religions are actually connected. And I'm so sorry if you hear my friend eating in the background, okay? We're sitting in the car. I'm sorry. But if you feel like you are confused, I would understand, especially as someone who's actually experienced other religions, right? Or different cultures, if you will. I've studied the Rastafarian lifestyle. My grandma, before she turned Pentecostal, was Catholic. I think I said that already. She became Baptist and then Pentecostal, but she was Catholic first. She grew up in a Catholic home. She's Black and Irish, right? They're Black and Irish, so she comes from a traditional Catholic background. So I grew up in church, but I was raised by someone who has subscribed to Catholicism. Now, one thing that we need to understand is that Catholics are Christian, Jews are Christian, Mormons are Christian, right? Rastafarians are Christians. All of these people refer to the Bible as their sacred text. Even with the Torah, a lot of people think the Torah is a different book. The Torah is actually the first 5 books in the Bible, okay? That is what the Torah is. It's the first 5 books. I don't know them offhand, but I think Genesis might be the first one or something like that. I don't know. I didn't even get into that because that's something we could look up on our own. My research was more geared towards just the religion overall and not the book itself. Mainly because the Bible is so old, and a lot of people have this misconception that Christianity is a European religion. How do we know that that's a lie? Because the oldest copy of the Bible is actually in Africa. It's in Ethiopia. So if you know anything about King Selassie, he's supposed to be the last descendant of King Solomon. Yeah, so this thing goes it goes a little deep, and it's so many different branches, right? That's basically what all this leads back to. So I got off course a little bit, right? So now we have the 5 main religions, right? And that was the reason why I said this, because it just shows you how culture is what's creating these religions. Hence the reason why everybody's still studying the same book, and the geographic location is going to determine what it is that you're being taught. So like if you go to Jamaica, you may see a Rasta. If you go to India, you may see a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu person. And I actually met some Indians on the train today. The train was packed, so I try not to have the random conversation, but I did ask where they were from, and they said Jersey at first, and we all started laughing. I was like, what's the nationality? And they were like, Indian. So I'm like, oh, okay, you're Hindu. And they were like, oh yeah. And they looked shocked that I knew that they were possibly Hindu. Even with India, there's a lot of different religions comprised in one area. You have Islam, you have Christianity, you have Hinduism, you have the Sheikhs, which a lot of people think that is Islam. Is a different religion which branches from Hinduism. We talked about this before, with Hinduism being the oldest religion, right, as far as research can show us. Now, when you look at Buddhism, right, because that was the religion that I said that I would learn more about. It's really peculiar to me, so I chose the Buddhist religion because I wanted to know a lot of different things. But how does a place as big as China, right? Now, there are a lot of Muslims in China, but how does a place as big as China have this religion take over, right? And Buddhism is actually said to be the thing that actually united all of the provinces in China. It was, we discussed this. It came about through the Silk Road, right? Through the trade. And then it had spread over, and it's said to be responsible for the unity now. Now, I also want to state that a lot of these religions that I have been looking up actually have no deities. There's not a lot of characters in their sacred texts, more so ancient information, a lot of philosophy, a lot of science, and just not really any folklore. I see that a lot of the books in the Bible have a lot of characters. It's a lot of stories that come from accounts of people in the Bible, but a lot of the other sacred texts have philosophies, a lot of research. So once I realized that, I also wanted to start paying attention to the origin of these books. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not gonna actually do that on this segment. Maybe not the next one, or the one after that, maybe. I wanted to just start going into some of the scriptures. Like, I know for a fact, and I know a lot of Muslims are probably not going to agree. If you're well versed, then you know that I'm not lying. The Quran comes out of the Bible. Okay? Multiple people told me that. I did my own research. It is in fact true. Now, I had a conversation with someone who's like 50 something, and he's been Muslim for like 30 something years. And I actually did my own research. It said that the Quran is not written in Arabic, but in Aramaic. I remember having this conversation on here in small, wasn't really like in detail, but it was just like a point that I was trying to make about language, I believe. It's a segment from last year. I'll have to look to get the actual episode, but I remember making that statement on here before just to like make the point. But in hindsight, I see how all of this can be confusing, because I don't think when the books were translated, everything was translated, and the things that were translated was probably not translated properly, because you have to remember, back then a lot of the languages were Latin languages, right? So like your Spanish, your Portuguese, your Italians, you know, those are Latin languages, right? They all come from the same family. The majority of the world either spoke that or tribal. So a lot of the words in the English language are relatively new to language as a whole. A lot of the words are new words. So basically these words were not in existence when these books were. So the words that we're reading in English are made up in present time. Even with like the Y and the J and all of that, like, right, we know that. So that's just to further prove my point that, yeah, like, we won't understand everything. Like, as much as I read and I do understand and I do get, and I could talk to God all day, I will never, know anything, nowhere near what God knows, or the angels and whatnot, right? I'm not here like acting like I'm this know-it-all. I'm just investing a little bit of energy into learning and just advancing my spiritual palette, if you will, right? So I just wanted to make sure we understood what this series was about. It's just about doing more research on different religions, because I've been talking to some people who are atheists, and I kind of just want to pick the brains, because I personally can't tell you what life would be like without God, because I've always known God since a kid, literally. I told y'all the story about how when I spoke tongues at 9 years old at the altar in church, and even before that, I've just always known, like, it was something out there and up there that I was connected to, right? So I'm gonna wrap this up. This is the end of the segment, and I just wanted to basically
swap what?
I just wanted to basically,
swap what?
Sorry about that. But yeah, basically I'm gonna wrap this up. I just wanted to do this because I know a lot of people right now are not believing in God. They don't believe in God, and they think it's all BS. And if we were judging by the books, I would understand, because at the end of the day, none of this works without your faith. All right. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope Y'all drink some water, eat some fruits and vegetables, and mind y'all business. And sip y'all tea, because it's I love y'all. Peace.